Hello YouTube, and today I'm going to be giving you my 2 cents on the Nerf Rebelle Spylight. Okay, so I'm going to go over the attachment here and then go over the blaster itself. So this is basically a flashlight with a red LED inside of it. The red LED is there for you can decode the special darts that come with the blaster. I'll show you that a little bit later. But basically this is intended for a double-use flashlight and decoder. It doesn't work too well as a flashlight. It's more of a direct beam as opposed to a more widespread beam that you really need from a flashlight. So this isn't very practical in a flashlight use. That and it's a red LED, doesn't bounce off as much stuff. White LEDs are just a lot better. This isn't too useful stock form, but modifying it so you maybe chop the tip off, put a white LED in there would be probably a really good idea, is because then you've also got this nice little tactical rail up here that you can mount other accessories on top so you can double stack things. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the blaster itself here. This is basically the Rebelle version of the Nerf Strong Arm, and I can tell is because the barrel rotates after a trigger pull. So I'll start up in the front here, work my way to the back. As you can see, orange tip that they always have. You've got a transparent red barrel, and then you've also got a slide back here, which does support slam fire. So you hold the trigger and pump the slide, and you can fire it like that. Not too hard to pull back, about the same as a strong arm in my opinion. It sounds like a strong arm when you prime it, so I'm going to take a guess that the internals are almost exactly the same. It's got a nice sling mount back here, so you can mount it to your bandolier or whichever you want. And then part of this is probably 50% of the reason why I bought this is because it's got this nice 2-dart storage unit down in the handle here. Now I wouldn't find this very practical for a actual storing Nerf bullets, is because, you know, like in the old N-Strike line of stuff, they almost always had 1-dart storage in the handle. Didn't have a cap on it. If you have a cap on it, it's just one more step to pull the dart out. If you don't have a cap on it, then you can just pull the dart out in an emergency. I find that a lot more useful. But the reason I really like this is that if you are a modifier and do a lot of LED work on blasters and stuff like that, you'll notice that AAAs and AA's are about the same size as a Nerf dart, or in diameter at least. So this can pretty easily be modified. You make a couple slits, so a couple AA's could go very nicely in the handle, and I'm sure there's something you can do with some wires to make it really smooth, and just pop it out and pop it back into the batteries. You've got this trigger here, which is actually kind of clunky. It's gotten a little bit better as I used it, but I'm pretty sure it's just something that can be fixed with a little bit of grease. And I'm going to go over the ergonomics now. This handle is pretty comfy, and it's okay. I mean, it's obviously meant for a smaller hand, being the girl version and everything like that. But the one thing I find really weird is that this trigger is like a good half-inch thick at least, maybe even 3/4. Yeah, half-inch. I'm going to call it half-inch thick trigger. So it's an extremely thick trigger. I mean, I don't even see these on bigger handled guns. And so I don't know really what they were doing there, because you're supposed to have smaller fingers, you know, a smaller trigger idea. But that's just, I don't know, I find that weird, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so I think that just about does it for this and this. I'm going to go over the gimmicky darts now. You can just skip to the end of the video if you don't want to watch this. But basically, 3 of these darts, these red camo patterned blue tipped darts, are supposed to be their secret code darts that have code hidden in the back of the red camouflage kind of thing. It's pretty obvious to see, okay, this one says hit, for example. It's pretty easy to see that it says hit without even decoding it in any way, so this isn't really a code. I mean, if you just look at it a second, you can see, oh hey, look at that, it says hit. This one says good shot, and this one says whatever, because I dropped it. But if you do care about this, I'm going to show you anyway. There's 3 ways to decode it on this blaster. One is you can use their little keychain thing that they included, which is transparent red, and you just slip the dart in there and you can see the message pop up there. This one says hit, but I can see that already. And yeah, it's actually kind of cool what they're trying to do here. I understand what they're trying to do. I think if they spent a little more time on this, this would have actually worked out pretty well. If they could have actually gotten, you know, the letters to hide, but it's not very practical as it is, and it's just kind of gimmicky. The second way you can decode them is to put them in the barrel, because the barrel is transparent red. This you can also see the code on the inside, on the dart itself. And then the last way to decode this, and this only really works if you're in the dark, is to use the red flashlight and shine it on the dart, and you can see the lettering as well. But this isn't too practical. If they do end up selling these separately, I mean, they're probably going to sell them more expensively, and I wouldn't buy them. These actually, one other thing that's interesting is when you put them in the barrel, they kind of squeak. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's kind of weird. I mean, I've actually had one misfire because it got stuck in the barrel. It only just kind of went bloop like that, is because it was sticking in the barrel a little bit too much. So that's one huge major flaw. I've actually seen it decrease the ranges with these darts. So if you don't use the code, I would suggest not even using these darts, because they can get stuck in the barrel and be a pain like that. But I think that just about concludes this video. Would I recommend this to anybody? Yes, I probably would. First off though, I mean, if you want to just stock, this thing looks pretty bad. But if you're just somebody that's going to function, you can paint it afterwards. This is definitely a very good backup sidearm. If you can't reach the hammer on the hammer shot, because that's my personal favorite sidearm at this current moment, then this is probably the blaster for you, because it'll fit in a cargo pocket rather nicely. It's not too big like the strong arm, getting a little bit up there on how big it was. This is a little more compact, and it's got a slide so smaller kids can play it more easily. But yes, I definitely recommend this for a sidearm. I would recommend it as a backup. I'm probably going to give it 9 out of 10 just because, you know, it's not incredibly effective. That's comparing it to the hammer shot. The hammer shot's like perfect in every way, but this is definitely, it's got some great possibilities for LED work and stuff like that.